Alright, so The Last Airbender is supposedly based on the popular anime Avatar The Last Airbender. They couldn't use that title because of the popularity of the James Cameron film, but from what I've heard from the fans of this series, they will probably be grateful that this doesn't even bear its real title. This film is apparently nothing like the series, and from what I've been told, even the parts that are like the series are watered down and poorly treated. I wouldn't know. I've never seen this series, and I'm not really well acquainted with anime at all. Anime is something that I don't watch, and to this day, the only anime I have ever reviewed is the film Spirited Away, and that was only because it was a requested review. I had never even heard of Spirited Away before the request. I kind of wish I had, because this is apparently a really, really big movie, which I completely did not know. Now, I have no problems giving a negative review of really, really big movies when I feel that they have committed some wrong and when I actually know that they're big movies. But I went into this one really knowing nothing about it at all. All I knew is that when the movie was over, I didn't like it. The truth, which people have been very correct in telling me since that review, is that Japanese culture isn't something that I understand very well. Something just doesn't click with me when it comes to their entertainment, especially in what I've seen from their anime. Both the action and the dialogue just seems needlessly overcomplicated, and quite frankly, it gets on my nerves. I think I said something in that review to the effect of all anime ever made is nonsensical, or something like that, which was pretty unforgivable, and I apologize for that. But as for the rest of the review, all I can say in my defense is this. I was asked to review this movie. I didn't like it, and I haven't really thought about the film at all since reviewing it, but it isn't as though I saw this on TV one day and said I have to get the word out on how crappy I think this is. I was asked. Had I seen this movie on my own, I wouldn't have liked it, but then I would have turned it off and just never talked about it again. But when doing a review, all I can do is give you my honest opinion based on the information I have available, which, when it comes to Japanese culture and entertainment, isn't much. However, when it comes to The Last Airbender, one thing is clear. This is not Japanese anything. This entire production is very, very American, and it's American garbage. I have been told that a few of my issues with Spirited Away would have disappeared if I had known a little more about Japanese culture, and maybe so. But I don't need to know anything about Japanese culture to know a Japanese forgery when I see it. And this is the most obvious forgery of them all. I can only imagine how fans of the series felt about this. The Last Airbender has perhaps the most incomprehensible plot that I have ever witnessed on film. I almost hesitate to try and give a summary of this because I honestly don't even know what the hell I just sat through. But maybe talking it out will help me to understand it. Okay, so there's this kid called the Avatar, and he is the reincarnation of the other avatars whose job it is to save people from things. But now he's the last avatar because the Fire Nation killed all the airbenders, because only the airbenders are the avatar... Wait, let me start over. The last airbender, who is also the avatar who is sent here to free people from things, gets trapped in the ice and is released when a girl stabs it for no reason. He learns that the Fire Nation has taken over everywhere and they killed all the airbenders, I think, so now the airbender/avatar has to stop them by either fighting them or summoning spirits to fight them, or maybe summoning spirits to talk to them, and the spirits are talking to him, and the... Wait, let me start over. The last airbender/avatar is awoken from the ice and has to stop the Fire Nation, but he hasn't been trained to bend all the elements yet, so he has to go from place to place to learn how to do that so that he can talk to the spirits so they can somehow fix everything, which has nothing to do with him learning about how to bend... Oh, you know what? Fuck this shit. There is no plot. The whole thing is all over the map. Right down to the main character's sidekicks. He's got a big, huge, woolly creature that can fly for some reason. He's got a tiny, useless lemur creature that can fly for some reason. And of course, Mini Moose. In addition to having the most confusing, weird plot and structure I've ever seen. One of this film's primary problems is the endless amount of exposition that doesn't even really end up telling you anything. Most of this film consists of some character's narration of what's happening, while we see a few bits and pieces of it on montage. If you're going to tell a story this way, you could at least make the exposition coherent. But then if you're going to tell a story this way, why are you even bothering to make this a movie at all? I don't even feel like I just watched a movie. I feel like some guy sat down in a chair with a book and just read all of this to me. Nothing in this film makes sense. I would say that the film is simply one big plot hole, but that would imply that the movie has a plot. This kid is going to a few towns and liberating them, but he doesn't really do anything that causes the liberated armies to succeed. He's just there. These people seemed perfectly capable of liberating themselves, so what the hell were they all just sitting around for? What, they were just waiting for inspiration? They allowed themselves to be subjugated until someone came here to make a speech? Are you kidding me? Why didn't they just do this in the first place? There's also this scene where the main kid very spontaneously decides to go somewhere, and there's an ambush waiting for him. Like they all magically knew he was going to show up. But you know what? I'm not going to waste my time talking about the plot anymore. There isn't one. Instead, I just want to know how this happened, because it seems to me that the series this was based on was popular enough for them to have made a good movie out of it. So how did this end up in such incapable hands? Why didn't the creators of this series just make a movie themselves? The script for this film ended up being written by M. Night Shyamalan. What? M. Night Shyamalan? Really? This doesn't even seem like his thing. Shyamalan has never done anything of any Eastern influence in his entire career that I'm aware of. I'm not saying a writer has to do the same thing over and over again, but it helps to at least stick to what you know. Now, I know Shyamalan's films haven't been great in his later career, but I honestly never thought of him as a bad writer. Even when his films were at their worst, I always just considered him to be a good writer that keeps making a lot of mistakes with his material. But this is bad. There's no way around it. It's just plain bad. In his defense of this film, Shyamalan argued that his style and form of storytelling resulted in the negative reviews of this film. What form of storytelling? This is probably the most formless film I've ever seen. Style? This wasn't even close to his style. If you didn't know this was an M. Night Shyamalan production, you would have naturally assumed that this was directed by some generic new director on an internship. And this is just a very feeble defense regardless of any of this. None of the negative reviews I am familiar with even talked about the style or the form or whatever the hell he's talking about. Mr. Shyamalan, I hate to say this. I really do, because I like you. But the negative reviews have absolutely nothing to do with the form or style you lent to this film. This film would have been panned no matter what the form or style was, no matter who directed it, no matter who wrote it. It was panned because the screenplay was abysmal. The movie is 103 minutes, which isn't nearly enough time to tell the full story or flesh out all of the characters that the original series pioneered. Even I know that, and I've never seen the series. So why on earth did they do it this way? Why would you put your already endangered reputation on the line for this when every circumstance of this production is working against you? I just don't get it. People have also complained about the 3D, but the 3D, I don't know, who cares? I didn't see this in the theater, I don't have a 3D TV, 3D is not a real part of a movie, I'm not going to talk about it. The Last Airbender is certainly the biggest mistake of M. Night Shyamalan's career so far, and it's one of the biggest mistakes that Hollywood has ever made. To the fans of the anime, I really hope you guys eventually get a good movie out of this, one that is actually animated and that is actually related to the series. From what I've been told of the series, there is more than enough content here to make a decent film series out of. It's going to be hard, though. Studios are going to want to avoid making another film from this series after a bomb this big. But for your guys' sake, I hope you end up getting a film that will restore the dignity and good name of the series, as well as a film that does it justice. But as for this film, this just plain sucks.